We are running a massive Cyber Monday discount, especially for those that want to be educated for a lifetime. Zbcn 50 for 50% off education. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, how are my snipers doing today? I hope you guys are doing fantastic. Listen, today we're going to be talking about the one, the only Zebec network. Listen, right? The markets have been dumping, right? We see Bitcoin is at $85,000. And just, not too long ago, it was sitting around 91.5 to 92,000. So we dropped roughly $7,000 for Bitcoin, which does mean a lot of altcoins have been bleeding. If we go over the last 24 hours to this, we could see, right, generally speaking, a lot of alts have been bleeding out a good amount, right? But here's the thing, people, right? Something that I did notice, we actually have been, rising up in the ranks. We're sitting around 141, 142 on the weekend. And, after Bitcoin dropped, we just went up 5 in ranking, which is actually pretty solid considering it just means that we are just holding much better than some of the cryptos that are around us, right? We can see we rank 137 out of 9,083 active cryptos. 276 million market cap, 13 million volume, right? When we go to something like the holders, we can see that we are kind of flatlining and going sideways in terms of holders, right? We're 89,000 for holders. We've been around this 89,000 mark for roughly 2 to 3 days at this point. But you know what? It's better to be going sideways while the market is going down, because that does mean usually once we start seeing a little bit of recoveries, we are going to see more and more holders. So, no one's leaving Zebec. People aren't scared. People still believe. And that's what it's about, right? If you have conviction, if you see people joining or, holding strong during tough times, then that's usually a very, very solid sign for a crypto, right? That's just how it works. When we go and look at the last, let's just say the last month, we can see on average, we are down 23%. In the last week, we are down 18%. And in the last 24 hours, we are down roughly 5%. None of this should really be a surprise considering the analysis we have been giving consistently on this channel. When we go and look at the charts, right, we can see that we did tap into a nice daily institutional candle over here. We have been forming consistent lower highs and lower lows. We can see we have a lower high, lower high, lower high, and lower high, right? We have consistent lower, lower, and lower swing points. Now we are entering a key zone, right? A zone that will determine everything. In fact, December for Bitcoin is going to determine everything. And I'm not even joking when I say that. It will either determine whether or not we have the beginning of the downfall for Bitcoin and 2026 is going to be altcoin season, or if Bitcoin has some life in it and it will continue to at least pump Q1 and Q2 in 2026. And that's where we're at right now, right? That is just the truth. That is just the truth. We can see when we look at the Zebec chart, we also did talk about this doji candle multiple times, which is usually a reversal sign, right? We also talked about how we were looking here, right? We kind of just broke out of this zone. We were failing to go up higher. Said it was looking very, very weak. And then look what happened, right? Multiple hours later, we were consistently selling off. And as of right now, we show zero, and I mean zero signs of any reversals. We are consistently forming lower and lower and lower highs. Same with lower and lower and lower lows. Now, we did kind of have this support zone here, and we can see, right, when we kind of broke out of it, we sold off a decent amount fairly quickly, right? We roughly sold off upwards of, let's just say 9%, 8.5 to 9%. We can see we pulled back a little bit for a retest. And as of right now, we are continuing just going further and further down, right? We should kind of see something like this overall, generally speaking, come probably back down to the 2.5, maybe see a little bit of a pullback back up to 2.75 to then continue going lower and lower. Like I said, December for Bitcoin is going to determine everything. This is going to determine, are we coming back here? Boom, simply forming a higher low and then reversing, or are we going lower, forming a lower high, coming back up to then go lower, right? That is going to be the next few confirmations we are waiting for. As of right now, in terms of likely probability, it is going to be looking like a lower low. And I only say that because of the historical evidence and data, right? We can clearly see we are kind of in this type of channel, right? Boom, and something like this. We can take it from here, right? We're kind of just in this kind of channel, right? We kind of just ping pong up and down, mainly down though, a little bit of sideways. And we can see generally we are trending downwards, but it doesn't mean that there won't be a start of a reversal, okay? So that is what we're going to be monitoring over the next little while. Overall, I'm still very, very optimistic with Zebec. I'm still optimistic with crypto. I know a lot of people are saying bear season, bear season. I heard the exact same thing back when Bitcoin was at 70 something thousand. Literally, I heard the exact same thing over here, right? I heard it when we were down here, right? People were saying it's over. People were saying it's over, right? Every time, in fact, there's a green or sorry, a red month or a red week, people are saying it's over. So I don't really care nor listen to those types of opinions at all. I will say when it comes to something like Bitcoin, right? I just see right now, I don't like these types of trend lines. You guys know I absolutely despise these type of trend lines where you have 1 point, 2nd point, and potentially a 3rd point because, you know, the markets usually never hold like this. So it does not make a good case for Bitcoin, which is obviously not ideal. Look, in terms of the monthly close, we officially did close as a lower low. And, you know, we closed lower than this low, lower than this low, lower than this low. So this is officially the lowest low we have seen in some time, right? In terms of just pure candle closes. Boom, take off the wick. We can see clear as day. Right, the bottom of the candle is at 0.0029. So not ideal, obviously not ideal. What does mean, you know, historically that we do need to see a little bit more downside, and we do need to see a little bit more of, you know, pretty much confirmations that we are going to upside, because right now we have zero. When we look at the weekly candles, right, we can see, you know, 2 weeks ago, this buy candle has been absolutely weak. And we can kind of see, right, when the markets kind of go down, we struggle with the buy candle, we usually go down further, right? So we went down again, we kind of struggle with the buy candle. I will not be surprised if we start heading for the 0.002 at this point, right? Just in terms of pure weekly candle closes. When we look at the daily closes, it's the same thing, right? We talked about how the daily closes look, you know, lower lows, lower highs, right? We can see this is a clear picture, right? Boom. So it is what it is. The markets are how they are. When we go and actually bring back some of these wicks and we go do something like this, when we go and bring the MA cross, we can see, right, the green line has been above the orange for some time. So we know that overall we have been in a downtrend based off of this, right, based off this indicator. We also do know on the weekly, right, we did cross roughly a week ago, a couple of days ago. So we are officially bearish on Zebec. The green line is above the orange. So like I said, there's more evidence and data suggesting that we will be going lower and lower. When we go and look at something like the MA cross 50, when we go to something like the daily, right, we crossed back in November 14th. So roughly 2 weeks ago, right? And the last time we had a cross was when pretty much just not too long after the start of the big pumps happened for Zebec. So, you know, this could be the start of the big dumps happening for Zebec. I know that's not what you want to hear, but, you know, I can't be just saying it's going to be going up and up and up and up when I know it's not going to be, right? Until there's, you know, evidence, you know, starting to suggest maybe on the 4-hour, then on the daily, then on the weekly, that's when I can start giving you, you know, very positive and bullish news, which, by the way, people, I'm still very, very bullish on this. I've said this before and I'll say it again right now. I know we're like 9 minutes into the video, but I'm very bullish on Zebec. You know, whatever it does now and over the next couple of weeks is very irrelevant to me, generally speaking. Like, and that's just the truth, right? That is just the truth for me. When we go and look at the RSI, right, in terms of the daily, right, we're kind of in between the neutral point and the prime buying opportunity, right? Somewhere in the middle, maybe slightly towards the upper side a little bit here. But we can see, so according to RSI, you still have some time to go before, you know, potentially thinking about buying. In terms of the weekly, we have a lot more downside potential before there might be prime buying opportunities according to the RSI. But that is ultimately it though, ladies and gentlemen. I still expect overall the next leg, right, when we do break out of this trend, to be upwards of 2 cents in my personal opinion, right? I do believe once we kind of break out of this channel, which we do pretty much have until near the start of quarter 1, I do believe the next leg will be to 2 cents, and I stand on that, right? At the end of the day, I can't know 100% how high we'll go in terms of the next leg, but we can always look at probabilities, and entering the 3.2 zone after being in consolidation for months and starting a new healthy year, that's really not out of the realms of possibilities. But of course, we'll have to see and monitor everything in the moment. We could obviously always be, it could be a little bit more short-lived. It could go upwards of 1.2 to 1.4 cents, or it could just skyrocket, right? If all, if there's no breaks and there's full gas for altcoin season for adoption, then we can just even smash upwards of, something like to 4.5 cents, cool back down to 3 cents, and then go from 3 cents to like 15. And I'm not even joking, right? That's how fast altcoin season moves. At the end of the day, we must monitor this month. This month is going to be extremely important for Bitcoin. And yeah, that is ultimately it though, ladies and gentlemen. I love you guys so much. Make sure to join the Discord. And if you are interested in, getting educated, courses are off 50%. This is only going to be for the next 24 hours or so. I love you guys so much, and I'll talk to you guys next time. Goodbye.